Hi, my name is Eric Latender, and I am author of the book, The Amazing Dog Training Man. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the king of dog training. Now, before you think I'm talking about me, I'm not. Let me explain what I'm talking about, because I'm not talking about a person. I am talking about what I think is the most important principle you need to know about dog training, or what I like to refer to as the king of dog training. That's how important it is to me. Because you see, when it comes to dog training, there's a lot of talk about what methods to use, which techniques are best, who has what theory, and it often becomes quite confusing for the average dog owner, because they're told to use a choke collar, and the next trainer says don't use a choke collar, and then they say use treats, don't use treats, and it all becomes very confusing and frustrating for the average dog owner. But anyways, if you don't understand what the king is, your dog training efforts will be stunted. So, before we go on to what it is, let me explain what the king is not. And it is not about treats or positive reinforcement. And that's probably going to shock some of you, because I do use treats and positive reinforcement, but it's not the king of dog training. It's not about punishment and negative reinforcement. So there's some trainers out there that say the only way to train a dog is with an electronic collar, and it's nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with punishment or negative reinforcement. And it is also not about clickers, because on the other side of the coin you have all these people, all these dog trainers saying, oh, you have to use a clicker, clickers. If you're not using a clicker, you're not training right, and you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to training. And believe me, clickers are phenomenal. They're great when it comes to dog training. I highly recommend them, but they are not the king of dog training. And it is also not using a choke or prong collar. It has nothing to do with collars, it has nothing to do with equipment. It all has to do with one thing. So let me explain a quick story for you before I tell you exactly what the king of dog training is. When I was about 14 years old, I met up with a few of my buddies, and we went to a park that we used to all hang out at, and one of my friends showed up with a case of beer, which, being 14, we all decided to quickly consume. And the next morning when I woke up, I learned a very valuable lesson. Yes, I was very hungover. I was hurting. And I learned that there was a consequence for drinking too much beer, and it was not pleasant. So when I talk about the king of dog training, I am talking about consequences. That's what dog training comes down to. And when you learn how to apply the right consequence in the right situation, you are on your way to a well-trained dog. And basically what we do when we're training is that if we're trying to teach the dog to do something for us, we want to make sure that we apply a positive consequence. And then when we need the dog to stop doing a behavior, we apply a negative consequence. And that's where there's a lot of confusion, because nobody wants to hurt a dog, including me. I don't hurt dogs. I don't use negative consequences that inflict pain on the dog. There are ways to use negative consequences that don't hurt the dog. But as I said, there's one part of the dog training world that thinks you should never, ever use negative consequences. So as I said, there's positive consequences and there's negative consequences, and they are useful in certain situations. How are you going to use a positive consequence if your dog is stealing food off your table? There's no way you could use a positive consequence, but there is a way to use a negative consequence. But when it comes to teaching your dog to do something, if you want your dog to come to you, if you want your dog to sit, you want your dog to stay, then you would apply a positive consequence. You reward the dog for doing the behavior that you like. So that is the king of dog training, is applying the right consequence in the right situation, and then you will have a trained dog. So hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you have any questions, you can check out some of my other videos that explain a lot of the theories and methods that I use when it comes to dog training. So again, thanks for watching this, and good luck training your dog.